Hey, it's Vaz here from Aussie RC Playground and welcome to another unboxing. Today we're going to be looking at one of two very big RCs that I've got here in the studio. The first one is going to be this guy. Now this one came to me from Banggood. It is a 1/6 scale two-wheel drive kind of dune buggy. But there is a problem with this box. What you're seeing here, there's something missing. I don't know if you can pick it, but well, there's no branding. If you don't read the title of the video or you don't read the heading in the Banggood website, you're not going to know what brand this car is. And I'm a little bit baffled by it. Now, I am nitpicking a little bit here, I know, and it's really just an observation, but for anybody that creates a company, one of the first things you want to do is create an icon, a symbol, something that people will recognize when they see that product. And there's nothing on the box. So this is the HBX T6 1/6 scale dune buggy or desert buggy. It says here full scale dune buggy. Oh, I don't think it's really full scale. It wouldn't fit in this house if it was. But it's battery powered, of course. Off-road racing. There's some specs here, size and wheelbase and whatnot. Some pictures on the side of the box here, and that's really all you get. Really strange to have a brand of RC with no actually company logo anywhere that says who makes it. So that's a bit strange. Anyway, this is quite a big car, and well, I know the box is a little bit boring to look at and there's really not a lot. You know what, let's just get rid of that because what we want to see is this guy over here. Now, when you unbox this, when you get yours, there's really not a lot to it. The car comes fully assembled. You don't have to put wheels on or anything. You get a user manual, which is not bad for the car, but you know what? I actually tried to find information on the ESC settings and things like that. There was nothing in here for the ESC. Now, I don't know if maybe there's some information that's missing from my box, but you've got everything you need to work on the car. There's also information about how to, you know, set your steering dual rates and do trimmings and all that sort of thing. There's no info for the ESC that I could really find, so that's a little bit of a letdown. But it does have part numbers, and it goes through some, you know, pictures of how you can disassemble and reassemble the car, and things like that. Some troubleshooting, part numbers for everything. Manual's actually not too bad. I just wish they had some info for the ESC, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit. The radio itself is this guy right here. Pretty nifty looking unit, no collapsible antennas or anything like that. I'm hoping that I get some pretty good range with this because I will, of course, be taking this guy out to do some speed runs, and I'll be, you know, needing some distance. So hopefully I don't have any problems there. On the top here we have steering trim, steering dual rate, and of course throttle trim. There are some reverse switches for your channels, on and off switch, and the binding button in the middle. Not a bad feel in the hand, and a very interesting thing about this radio too is that it uses 3 AA's. Now the batteries for this are not included. There are no batteries included in this car or with this car. So just so that you know, because sometimes I unbox cars and people still ask me, what batteries did you get with it, or does it come with batteries, when I clearly don't show any batteries. So yeah, no batteries included. So yeah, that's the radio. That's it there. Now for the car itself. This guy is a bit of a beast, and I'll hold it up here so you can see, just get a bit of an idea of how big it actually is. There it is there. There is a spare tire on the back, and yes, that is a real wheel and tire that you can use on the car if you so wish. There is the front end there. There's your little windscreen. It's got these like mirror things going on over here, but there's no actual mirrors. And it's got this nice sort of plastic on top here to kind of protect the roof from getting scraped, which, you know, it's not a bad looking design. It's pretty cool. There's your front tires right there. 17mm hexes, front and rear. These are the tires there. So you can see exactly what this guy looks like. I know I'm moving around a little bit fast. There's also a bit of an interior going on. So it's got a couple of chairs. So for those of you who perhaps have some figurines or something like that, you can probably sit a couple of people in here, take them for a ride. I'm sure they'll have lots of fun. So let's talk about the tires. The tires actually don't feel too bad. They are a little bit firm, which is expected for a ready to run because they want longevity out of the tires, out of the rubber. Tread pattern on the rear doesn't feel too bad. I don't think it's going to be terrible. I'm curious to see how it's going to work on gravel, which is where I tend to run a lot of my cars. But I think they might do okay on grass. I have seen a video of this car already on YouTube, and you know, it's got some pretty good speed, so I think this is going to be a pretty fast car. Now, to get, before we get inside, the suspension on this, on the rear, it feels really good. The shocks aren't really that big. For a car of this scale, I was expecting bigger shocks, but I think they've done the tuning pretty well. This thing seems to be okay. Probably a little bit undersprung. Probably I could adjust my shock collars a bit just to bring it up a bit, but overall the suspension in the rear feels pretty good. The front feels a lot lighter, but there is a problem with the front suspension. I'm going to try and show you this as best as I can. When the suspension compresses here, you might be able to see that this adjustment link here hits the Lexan. So if you're coming down hard off a jump or something like that, and this compresses quite hard, you can hear it there. It's hitting the Lexan. So this is a bit worrying. They haven't really done their homework here, I don't think. And the other thing is, it doesn't bottom out on the front unless, of course, you really force it down and it, you know, lifts the Lexan up. The rear does bottom out, which is fine. Speaking of the Lexan, one thing to keep in mind is that this has a protective plastic film on it when you get it out of the box, so make sure you peel that off. You may need to take these guys out. There's some screws underneath that you can undo. There's 3 screws on each one, and you can remove them, and then of course peel the plastic off with a lot of ease, I guess. Now, to access your batteries and everything, we're going to start getting inside now. There are 2 body pins under here. So there's one right here on this side and another one on the opposite side. So, oh geez, this is heavy. So you pull these guys out, very easy, and then the whole roof kind of just lifts straight up. So you can see that it just goes straight up like that. Very, very easy. That is the interior there. That's what it looks like. You can see the ESC mounted at the back. To access the batteries, there are 4 clips on either side, or 2 clips on either side of these seats here. You might be able to see them on camera there. There's 2 there, and then there's 2 more at the back. You basically just open these up. So I'm going to try and show you here. Pull these out towards the side of the car, flip them up like that, and then this guy just lifts clean off like that. It's a little bit fiddly because there's like a steering wheel and stuff, and they have like foot pedals and everything on this guy. And then that's your battery tray right there. You'll need to run 2 2S or 2 3S side by side in that battery tray. Yes, it runs on either 4S or 6S. Now, you'll notice that I have XT150s connected up to my ESC. This does not come with XT150s. It comes with Dean's plugs, Dean's connectors. And you'll have 2 of them coming out of the ESC. I'll show you some photos. Now, the reason why I've already got XT150s on this is because the ESC was unstuck from the tray that it's supposed to be mounted onto when I took the car out of the box. And rather than going through the process of sticking it back on and then having to kind of pull it off to change my connectors, I figured I'll do it first, plug it in, and then I'll just, you know, explain to you why it has already XT150s in there. But as I said, it comes with Dean's. Now, there is a steering servo jammed up all the way in the front here underneath the dashboard, and on top of that, there is something that I was not expecting to see with this car, which is actually a gyro. So the gyro helps with the steering. It only helps with the steering. There's no throttle, at least from what I could tell, there's no throttle management going on with the gyro. It's purely just for the steering. The steering dual rate works as you'd expect, so it turns down the steering and of course turns up the steering angle as you turn up your dual rates, but the gyro is always on. So just bear that in mind. If you don't want the gyro, if you don't like that, you'll need to sort of disassemble the front end of the car here and rip that out, unplug it, and then of course, you know, put that into something else or sell it, whatever it is you want to do. But I will say that I have been a little bit cheeky, and I have driven this car at the front of the house just briefly, and this just on 4S, and this has some pretty good speed, and the gyro actually works pretty well. I can see the gyro working even before I do anything with the remote, so it's quite responsive, and it does help in steering the car. So I think this could actually work really well on a 2-wheel drive buggy, which is essentially where gyros belong is where cars are a little bit trickier to drive, and this being such a powerful machine, I think it's needed almost in this car. So I'm very enthusiastic about or looking forward to driving this over to BMX track. I'm curious to see how these tyres are going to hold up. Alternatively, because it just uses 17mm hexes, I can just put trucky tyres on here, or I can just put my two 3.8-inch Badlands, and you know, I'm pretty sure I'll get some decent grip out of those. Now, for the electrics, we have a 160 amp, yes, 160 amp, what I believe is a Max 6 ESC from Hobbywing. And I think it's a genuine Hobbywing because I plugged my program card in there and I was able to go through 11 settings on this guy. So it's not dumbed down like some of the other ESCs that are Hobbywing, but they've sort of reprogrammed them. This one seems to be the real deal, and you can program up to 11 settings on it, because I had one of those little Hobbywing program cards and it worked. The motor is quite a big one. I think it's a 4274, 42, I think that's what it is, 76. It's a 2350 kV. So a little bit higher kV motor, but like I said, just on 4S, this thing rips. It really does go, and I cannot wait to speed test this car. I think this is going to be a bit of an adrenaline rush. Now, just bear in mind as well, if you are going to be programming this ESC to adjust any settings, you will need to remove this top plate here, because the plug for the fan, or where you plug your memory card, is kind of tucked in behind here, and you can't really access it with this on here. So there's 4 screws on either side, oh sorry, 2 screws on either side here, 4 in total. You'll take this off and then you have access to be able to plug your program card in there. What else can I tell you about this one? Well, I can say that I'm pretty impressed with the drive shafts and the A-arms. The drive shafts in the rear, I believe, are 6mm thick, so they're not too thin at all. The A-arms are actually quite beefy as well, both front and rear. They show some real promise to hold up to some punishment. There's also, if I can show you here, there's also, hang on, this is really awkward because the car's so big, I'm sorry. I'll try and show you on this one. There we are. So you can see a little bit of aluminium on top there. Hopefully the camera is focusing, but it's not. Hang on. There we go. You can see that there. So you can see a bit of aluminium right there. You've got adjustment points on the front of the A-arms. There are 3 in the front and there are 3 in the rear. There are multiple adjustment points on the top of the shock tower. I think there's 5 in total. So you can definitely have the shocks mounted up a little bit higher. You can have them mount them inwards a little bit as well. So quite a fair bit of tuning that is available here. There's a rear diff, a full gear diff, and of course you have a slipper clutch down the side here. If I can show you there. Whoa, this guy's big. And then there's a little rubber cover just there that you can remove, and that allows you to adjust your slipper clutch. Aluminium chassis, of course, which I believe is about 3mm thick, and of course you have this big plastic bracing going all the way along on either side to give the car quite a fair bit of stiffness. The motor mount is extremely thick. Everything about this car just has a level of strength and beefiness. For something this scale, it actually looks really, really promising. The only thing I wish it had was slightly bigger shocks, but I think these might actually hold up okay. I mean, as you can see, they seem to be performing pretty nicely. Hopefully when I actually drive it off-road and do some jumping with it, you know, they'll hold up. We'll see how that pans out. Now, you do have ball bearings all the way around, of course. And are these just dog bones or are these CVDs? No, these are just standard dog bones in the rear, from what I could tell. There's hex hardware all the way around. No Phillips heads. Well, actually, there are Phillips heads. I'll tell you whether... no Phillips heads. I beg your pardon. No Phillips heads on this guy as far as I could tell. And what I may do, just briefly, is I'll try and remove the top cover here and kind of give you guys a little bit of an overlay of this guy, because I kind of want to show you, and I want to see for myself as well, what the inside of it here looks like, because it does look quite good. The shock tower looks really beefy. The front bumper actually looks very nice as well. Another thing to point out is that it does have droop screws on the front and rear arms already pre-installed, so you can lower this guy, especially if you're going to be doing some speed runs or anything like that. You can drop this guy down a little bit to give it a bit more aerodynamic and obviously stabilize the shocks and kind of prevent it from swaying so much, as you know, long travel suspension cars tend to do. So that's, you know, a pretty cool thing to see. They've also got a bind plug that I just noticed here, that's kind of looped around the wires, the cables of the ESC. And of course, one of the coolest things about this ESC is it's got that push button on there, not the sliding button. I love these push buttons on these Hobbywing ESCs. They are fantastic. So that's pretty much all I can really tell you about this guy. Really beefy links, beefy drive shafts. The car actually looks really good. I mean, for a brand that I don't think I've ever had this brand before from memory. I may have had cars that perhaps sell under different names, and HBX also sell. That may be something that I may have had in the past, but I've had so many cars that I do lose track. So, I don't know, that sounds really cocky, but that's the truth. I sometimes do forget. So there we go, the HBX T6 1/6 scale 2-wheel drive Dune Buggy. Kind of an interesting car, and I'm very much looking forward to running it and just seeing what it can do and how it does it as well. That's pretty much it from me. Please be sure to check out the video description. I'll have links in there to the car, as well as a link to my Facebook page. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really do appreciate it. And don't forget to give the video a like if, of course, you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to get back to you. And that is it from me. I'm going to charge up some batteries now and get this guy ready to do some speed tests and do some bashing. So that's it. Thanks. See ya.